What is up, guys? Rick Hack is here, and it's Saturday, so it's time to go over some more amazing community-designed exotic weapons in Destiny. Now, this series actually features ideas that came from the comments section of last week's video. So there's actually going to be a chance for you to submit your own exotic weapon or armor ideas and hopefully get chosen to be made a concept for next week's video. Now, the person making all of these concepts is the artist Benjamin Radiman, who makes these incredibly realistic exotic concepts. His art station is linked in the description down below, and after the video you should definitely check it out. Firstly, just to say hi and thank you for making this series possible, but also there's a bunch more exotics there that we're not going over in this video. There's speed build videos, and there's a lot more information, including the backstory and all of the perks of the weapons being featured in this week's video. And at the end of the video, I'm going to go over how to properly submit your exotic concept idea. But without further ado, let's get started on this week's exotic concepts. The first weapon we have is the Luck or Logic exotic hand cannon concept by Solomon Kane. Now, the exotic perk for this weapon actually has you choose between two different exotic perks, Luck or Logic, with Luck being that if you get a precision kill with this weapon, it has a 10% chance that 2 bullets in the next magazine will automatically do critical damage no matter where you hit the enemy. However, your super, grenade, and melee will recharge a little slower. Or you can pick Logic. If you get a precision kill with this weapon, you have a 20% chance that your grenade, super, and melee do more damage and charge a little faster. However, the range and the critical damage of the weapon is lowered. Now, I do think you'd have to mess around with the percentages to make this weapon properly balanced. For example, a 10% chance that only 2 bullets will do critical damage. I don't think that's actually that good. I would actually make that a higher percent chance. But I do like the idea of basically you get to choose between, okay, do you want your weapon to become better and better and better as you go on a kill streak? Or do you want your grenades and melee and all your other stuff to become better and better, but there's going to be a trade-off. If your weapon is becoming better, your grenades and your melee and your super are recharging slower. But if your grenades and melee and super are recharging faster and doing more damage, your weapon is getting worse. So you kind of have to decide which route you want to take, and that's really going to depend on your build. So I do like this weapon's concept. And I think it would provide some pretty sweet and pretty differentiated gameplay in both PvP and PvE. Now, the next exotic concept we're going over is something a little different. It's a piece of armor. The Devil from Ether exotic Titan Defender gauntlets by K Destroyer. Now, the exotic perk for this armor would be called Embrace the Light. When melee charge is full, melee kills can activate Blessings of Light or Weapons of Light for 10 seconds. And first things first, I think that might definitely be overpowered. Not even necessarily because of Blessings of Light, but Weapons of Light. If you get 10 seconds of essentially stopping power on steroids, that is going to be incredibly powerful. However, there are some factors kind of holding it back, I suppose. Firstly, you have to wait until the charge is actually there. It has to be like a proper melee attack. Secondly, you actually have to kill the enemy with that melee attack. If you melee an enemy and he's still alive, then you shotgun him to death or just finish him off with your weapon, it's not going to activate. Your melee actually has to be the finishing blow, which actually happens less than you'd like to think. I think this could actually be fairly balanced if you rein in 10 seconds to around 5 seconds. 5 seconds of Blessings of Light, just giving you an overshield, is actually going to be not bad. And remember, with the Defender Titan melee as it currently is, you actually already get an overshield for killing an enemy with a melee. So adding Blessings of Light is just going to increase your overshield even more. So it's going to be like 5 seconds, you are very, very hard to kill. However, for only 5 seconds, and because you're a Defender Titan, I mean, that kind of really goes into being a Defender Titan, being this kind of unkillable hulking behemoth. That is kind of the point of, again, playing a Defender Titan. So I don't think that's that outrageous. And again, the fact that you're activating all of this after the kill is the balancing factor. The reason that Warlock melees are so infuriating is that when you melee a Warlock and he melees you at the same time, now suddenly you're both hurt, except for he has an overshield. That you don't get it on kill, you get it on your melee, and that's really the thing that makes it so powerful. Now, it's never actually specified whether you actually get to choose whether you get weapons or blessings of light with this armor piece, or it's just random. And I think if it was random, that would be a really, really cool idea, because again, that's another balancing factor. You can't plan, you can't really make your build around something. Both effects are quite powerful, but you can never be like, okay, I really want to have, increased shields, or I really want to have increased damage. It's going to be random, and so you really have to adapt your playstyle depending on what actually occurs. The next exotic concept we're going over is the Her Eyes exotic sidearm concept by Mr. Shooter Gaming. Now, first of all, this is exactly what the Raid sidearm, the King's Fall sidearm, should have looked like. We deserve a King's Fall sidearm, and this is exactly what we're missing out on. Now, the exotic perk for this weapon will have you choose between two different perks. Firstly, Her Eyes. While utilizing this weapon, when you melee an enemy, it's actually going to apply a special melee attack. Hitting that enemy won't actually do any damage, but it'll freeze that enemy, making them unable to move for 3 seconds. This whole ability will have a 20-second cooldown. That was actually the initial idea. I think it might have to be a 30-second cooldown. However, again, this idea of just giving you kind of a special extra melee attack, essentially, and again, a 30-second cooldown is more than fair, not doing any damage, but freezing an enemy so they're kind of helpless for 2 or 3 seconds while you can just finish them off, that's going to be quite interesting. The next exotic perk we have is called Summoner. Precision kills have a chance to summon 1 to 5 knights that will help you in battle. And actually it says there's a smaller chance of this happening in PvE and a higher chance in PvP. Now, right off the bat, summoning 5 knights for precision shot is retardedly overpowered. That's just not going to happen. However, the concept of summoning a creature, it could be, a knight, it could be even just a thrall, when you get a precision shot, that's actually a really cool idea. And that really kind of lends itself to a raid weapon. Like, what would summon hive knights or hive thralls? Well, a raid weapon that you found deep in King's Fall. That actually is a really, really sweet idea. The more I think about it, the more I would actually love to be able to take this into PvP or PvE even, shoot an enemy in the head, and then summon a thrall to fight for me. Like, in PvP, I don't think that would be insanely overpowered. You actually have to get the kill normally and finish the enemy off with a precision shot, and then it's going to summon, again, a thrall would probably be better than a knight. The knight might be a little overpowered, but then a thrall would run around and, hit enemies. If a thrall hits you, it does a decent amount of damage, so it's pretty useful if your enemy actually gets hit by that thrall. They take a decent chunk of damage, and thralls are easy enough to kill, especially with all the weapons people are using in PvP, that I don't see it being that overpowered, but again, it would be useful. In PvE, just offering a distraction of a thrall to run up and, distract the enemy that you're fighting, and they'd have to go and try to kill the thrall, is also going to be quite useful. So I love this idea of summoning, a hive member, a hive thrall or a hive acolyte or something to go and fight for you after you get a precision kill. I love that idea. The next exotic we're going over is the Lady Luck exotic sniper rifle concept by Matthew Vandegrift. This weapon again has you choose between some different exotic perks. Firstly, Sneaky Play. Briefly turn invisible after firing. Increase precision damage while Sneaky Play is active. So essentially, you would shoot your gun, turn invisible, and then your next shot, which is also going to break your invisibility, but that next shot will do increased precision damage. Now, we already do have a sniper rifle that turns you invisible, the Patience and Time, but that one turns you invisible for aiming down sights. It really isn't known whether or not that kind of idea is fair and balanced, and then this one might be, overpowered every time you shoot the weapon you turn invisible, or maybe not. Maybe not having to shoot the weapon and just aim down sights is more powerful. It's really not known, but I don't actually dislike this idea. I do like the idea of an area of a stealth, and I actually see this being even more useful in PvE scenarios, being able to shoot, turn invisible, relocate, get to higher ground, do whatever, and then your next shot is going to do more precision damage, which doesn't really matter in PvP that much, because a precision shot is a precision shot is a precision shot. You're gonna kill the enemy most of the time. Doing more precision damage isn't gonna matter that much again in PvP, but in PvE, when you have to shoot an enemy quite a lot of times in the head, like a boss for example, that damage is going to come into play a lot more. The next exotic perk you can choose is Mind Games. Stun grouped opponents briefly on a precision shot, make minions of the darkness fight each other. That's pretty interesting. If you get a precision shot on a knight and they're still alive, they'll turn on their comrades and start fighting each other. That is certainly a powerful asset to have in PvE. You will probably have to make it so that it doesn't affect bosses. I imagine, shooting Omnigul, then having her going and fighting other thralls and stuff, that would be a little overpowered. Like just being able to shoot a boss, shooting the war priest, and then they attack their friends, like that is just not gonna work out very well. But having it affect non-boss enemies, again, knights and stuff, that could actually be a very interesting asset. And now for PvP, if you have a bunch of guardians kind of around each other and you get a precision shot on one, then it's going to go out and stun the ones around it. That's also going to be quite useful. Now the last exotic concept we're going over today is the Bloodseeker, exotic sniper rifle concept by Noah Chrissy. Now the exotic perk for this weapon would be called Bloodborne, I guess appropriate because the beta just came out today. This weapon can switch between its normal scope or its blood sense scope. Now while utilizing this blood sense scope, it will actually outline enemies in red. And when those enemies run behind walls, they will still kind of be outlined and then it will slowly fade after a few seconds. So you can kind of see where enemies are going if you can see them, and then your blood sense scope picks them up and starts to outline them, and then they run around a corner. You can kind of see which direction they go before they eventually kind of fade away and you can't see them anymore. Obviously, if you were able to see everyone, behind walls at all times, that would be incredibly overpowered. Additionally, shots with this weapon would make it so that when you hit an enemy, they will actually take 5 seconds longer before they start regeneration. That's actually decently useful, kind of making it so that if you're not able to kill the enemy, you actually have more time to maybe close in yourself or your teammates to close in on that wounded enemy. That's definitely a powerful asset to have. I can see a sniper like this really being utilized in PvP scenarios, something like Trials of Osiris. Again, not even because of the outlining thing, just because of making your enemies take 5 seconds longer to regenerate. Again, that's such a huge advantage if you're able to shoot an enemy, communicate with your team that that enemy is hurt, and again, taking 5 extra seconds before they start regenerating, and then your teammates can swoop in for the kill. Now that's it for the exotic concepts we're going over this week. If you want to submit your idea for an exotic weapon or armor piece, all you need to do is respond to the thread of the comment I will leave in the comment section down below. So my comment will say something like, put your exotic ideas here, respond to that comment with your idea. Also make sure you read my comment in its entirety because it's going to outline what you should have in your submission. Remember also to be creative and unique in your idea. That's obviously going to help you get picked, but also consider if it's overpowered. Ideas like making guns do more damage after you get a kill, or getting an overshield after every kill, or even after a precision shot is obviously overpowered. Try to stick away from those ideas. Now, good luck with your ideas, and I hope to see you next week. Now, that's it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, and if you want to support this series, please make sure to rate and share this video. Now, if you want to see more Destiny content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.